So we're an online platform, investment platform that solely focuses on Sharia compliant and ethical startups, those in particular that are looking to raise investment in the UK under the UK venture capital schemes, i.e. SEIS and EIS. And how we came about, essentially numerous coffees and conversations, which now feel like a long distance away. Um, Essentially there's a genuine need that we spotted it through our experiences, particularly being in the venture capital space in tax. And one thing that I noted and I was sharing with my co-founder is that the lack of BAME founders to begin with, and secondly pretty much nil Sharia compliant startups in the UK that merge in with the UK venture capital schemes. So there are plenty of investment platforms out there in the UK which all do a great job, but there isn't a particular focus on the Sharia or ethical startups. And we were just talking, me and my co-founder, as I say, over a coffee, and we thought, hang on, why isn't nobody doing this? So and we then decided, like, actually, let's see how far we could take this and do something about it.
And Temello is essentially a startup fintech that's Bristol based. And we work with pension providers and investment platforms to enable them to give their pension members with transparency over the companies they're invested in and an underlying shareholder voice. Temello has three founders, Georgia, Will and Ben. Temello was established essentially at Cambridge University, where the three founders met, and they were campaigning for the sustainable investment of their university's £6 billion investment fund. So they basically campaigned to influence the university and their fund managers to vote for climate protection, gender equality and human rights at the companies within that investment portfolio. So it was kind of during this sort of campaign that they really recognised the global problem that there are millions of ordinary people that contribute to our investment system through things like ISAs, workplace pensions and other investments, yet have no visibility over where their money is going and no voice at the companies they own through those investments, which obviously as a result leads to a society that's entirely disengaged and an investment system that is broken and essentially unsustainable.
Hi, I'm Callum Murray. I'm the Chief Exec of Amicus. We are a tech for good software company and we help companies across sectors onboard their clients and staff in a remotely and secure way. So how did the company come about? 6 years ago or more, I previously was in the construction sector. I'd set up a business when I had left university, and through my own experience of engaging with professional services and looking for legal help, I understood that it was complex, time consuming and very expensive. I believed that it shouldn't have to be that way. It involved a lot of paper process and a lot of repetitive work, and I felt that it was unlikely that either the judiciary, solicitors, accountants or anyone like that were going to make that change themselves, so decided to set up the business to help bring about the change maybe a bit faster than it would have happened otherwise. So set the business up with 4 other founders. So we had someone coming from a DevOps, a server-side security background. We had an experienced product manager. We had a designer. We had an engineer and also our accountant. So the 5 of us all got together. When we set the business up, initially we were looking to solve a problem for the legal profession and make it simple for someone to engage with a solicitor and to do that online. What we quickly realised was there was an overlap between the regulations and compliance requirements across many sectors, which meant that what we were solving in the legal profession, we could apply that very clearly to financial services, as well as many other sectors. So really understanding that the regulation that underpins the onboarding requirements and the legislation that links to that.
I'm the founder of the Financial Network, and I'm involved with several fintechs, primarily Advisory Direct, and our most recent project, which I'm leading as the Chief Executive, AltDAC Limited, which is an alternative investment exchange. The company was actually formed last year in May of 2020, And the one of the drivers and the impetus for the company was actually the COVID pandemic. And because we felt that there was increasing gap between the funding needs of the companies, with COVID making it more difficult, investors becoming a bit more reluctant. So the goal for all that was to be able to provide an alternative mechanism for companies ranging from startups to SMEs to be able to raise capital, create awareness, and connect with qualified investors in a more efficient and cost-effective manner. I had this idea kicking around. I registered the domain. I think it was early in the year, and then in May I founded the business and started to work on it. So and we've been in stealth mode pretty much. Just plugging away, working on it, and we've just released it this month with pre-registration and taking it live and started to onboard customers.
I'm Christian Bergen. I'm co-founder and product lead of Visible Capital. So there were three of us that founded Visible Capital back in 2018. So what we've been looking at is we've sort of been working in various different roles within sort of finance, consulting, sort of data management, financial services, that kind of world. And it was a case of looking at open banking was just coming in properly. It's been coming in for quite a few years now, but coming in properly. My co-founder Ross has been consulting with a company that's been looking at use of open banking in the credit space. And then we've been working on sort of various other projects together, looking at use of people's financial data in their world. How do you actually improve things for people? How do you make things better? How do you improve certain processes to that extent? And so really it was kind of understanding the market, looking at the assessments that have to be undergone for financial advice. And so the collection of that data is very slow, very laborious, quite heavily manually driven. So a lot of the time it's paper forms which are then rekeyed. People don't really know what they're earning, people don't really know what they're spending. And there's problems with the data in between, and nothing ever quite goes as well as it could. So we identified that there was a really good solution here, in as much as financial advisors have got a lot more work on at the minute to get all this data. Clients wanting sort of more simple onboarding journeys. They want the right data at the right time. And this was just a much quicker, easier, more efficient way of actually making the whole thing work. So yes, that was the founding story, really.
My name's Usman Yassin, and I'm the founder of a company called Sonic Pocket. What is Sonic Pocket? Sonic Pocket's a platform which teaches children about financial education through EdTech and financial education. How that basically works is we want to make financial education at a very early stage for children, to make banking for children very easy, and it doesn't feel so much educational to them as well. The reason that I've came into doing Sonic Pocket was because one of my nieces wanted to shop online, and I was scared to give her my credit card. So what happened there was, once I gave her the credit card, I was looking over her shoulder and I was thinking, how much is she going to spend on Argos? So that's where it really came from. And I've got 4 nieces, adorable nieces, and the youngest one was struggling with mental arithmetic. And I thought, well, why don't we combine the two things together, like financial education, let children make goals and save up for products. About the market opportunities, I would say that FinTech for children is really growing. You've got a lot of big companies coming into the market, raising a lot of money. A lot of the big banks like RBS, Barclays are really looking to penetrate this type of market as well, to have a children's banking app associated to a Guardian's app as well, to teach children about the financial education. It's something that gives them a little bit more kudos as well. Before this, I was involved in children's play centres in the leisure industry as well, and a lot of my actual early validation came across from that part as well. I spoke to a lot of parents and to find out what the needs was for having a product like Sonic Pocket in the market. So that's the thing that I've done there. I used to do a lot of freelancing in technology as well, helping a lot of small to medium-sized companies build like WordPress websites, nothing too extravagant, but I've got a real passion for technology as well. I set up the business myself in 2017, and we went through a few different accelerators, and really kind of got that early validation for what we're trying to basically create. And from there, we've won several awards, Scottish Edge, we've had a Smart Award and stuff like that as well. The key challenges for me is really keep pushing forward. Find the right team members as well was pretty tough. It took me a good 3 years to find the right team, and I would say that we have a very good team now. Really being able to articulate your product as well. I think I really struggled with that. I think it was because a lot of the things were in my head. I think it was important to really get it down, have a really strong business plan. You know, you should be constantly redrafting your business plan, your pitch deck. You should be constantly doing them all the time. That's what we always do.
So James Varga, I'm the CEO and founder of DirectID. DirectID is all around credit risk. So we use open banking or bank data, so your last 12 months worth of bank statements, to help generate a better credit score. So essentially we help businesses onboard customers by leveraging that wealth of identity and data you already have with their banks, so that businesses can really get to understand you as an individual or a business, really. So we set up, actually, we're an older fintech. We set up about 10, 11 years ago, maybe now. So quite a while ago, before fintech was fintech and all the rest of it. And the idea really at the time was there's a lot of things that we do online that we can't do because of what's known as AML and KYC or credit risk, right? Which is for us all around how do we prove we are who we say we are, right? That I am James Varga. And how do we prove enough information about ourselves? Like I've got a job and I can afford the payments or whatever. So 10 years ago, we started as a digital passport, a virtual driver's license, if you would, that people could set up. They could connect things like their bank accounts to, and other social accounts and other things, and they could take that with them as they were traveling the internet, and share bits of the information so that, you know, consumers had control of their data. We owned and managed it as individuals, but still it had that attestation or assurance in the data and the identity that we were that person. About 5 years ago, we realized we were a bit early for the market still. So we pivoted to a B2B platform, DirectID, and that's our focus today.
I'm Laurel Quinn, the CEO and co-founder of Sustainably. We are based in Edinburgh. We had the idea for Sustainably back in 2015, and actually quit our jobs and started the Entrepreneurial Spark Accelerator at RBS at Gogarburn in 2016, and launched our first product in 2017 for Monzo Bank customers. And really the need, kind of what we're trying to do in the business, is to make it really easy for you as an individual to have a positive impact as part of everyday life. And when you think about the kind of how tech has evolved in terms of like your music, getting into cabs, you know, kind of payments automation, subscription and all that kind of thing, that really hasn't happened in the giving sector. So if you want to kind of give to causes, it's just not as straightforward as that. So we're creating a really simple platform, so the 1.8 billion people in the world that give to good causes can do it in a really frictionless way and get the retailers that they buy from and their employer giving to. So it's kind of like a corporate giving platform as well, combined. I was working in an investment company as head of digital marketing and digital strategy, which actually had helped to grow it into a FTSE 100. And at the time I had just done the Google Squared course, which is all about disruptive innovation. And I just had these ideas like kind of what could I do to make a difference in the world. And at that point, my daughter, who is my co-founder, she was working in the ethical retail. And I just had this idea kind of what could we do that would make doing good easy. And then kind of it was like a mix of Acorns investing, which at the time you could round up your spare change to your investment portfolio in the States. Now Moneybox does that in the UK. And things like Tom's shoes, when you buy something, something good happens, and also things like Pokemon Go, so like there's a bit of gamification in it and things like that. So that was the sort of inspiration, but really it was kind of like what can people do that is really frictionless to have an impact and to kind of track their impact in a really simple way. Sustainably is all about being able to track your impact. So we turn your financial transactions into impact every day, and you can track your impact and give in a multitude of different ways with your tax and added on top of that. So yeah, instead of having to visit every other platform to do one part of giving, you can have all in one place. And that's essentially what we're doing.
So my name's Phil Grady, and I was the founder of Castlight, which was a business that eventually joined Experian nearly 2 years ago. We created, for the first time, really affordability propositions based on open banking, and which is now very much at the heart of consumer finance. We saw the business really was started. I saw, I guess, having spent quite a lot of my time in the insolvency sector, I had saw a lot of inaccuracies in the way in which, and unfairness in the way in which financial services was being conducted. I took the view when I started the business, as much as a lot of people thought there was a credit crunch, I never accepted there was a credit crunch. Everybody looked at a credit crunch as being the cause, but in actual fact, the credit crunch was a symptom of something that went before that, which was in fact a truth crunch. So there was a truth crunch in financial services where people were, going forward for loans, mortgages, and not all the information was being presented or taken into consideration. So, for example, people were just looking at maybe the income, and income was only a one-dimensional view of someone's overall affordability. You had to take into consideration how they spent their money. So if you were lending on disposable income, actually, then you're getting to the truth as to what someone's absolute financial capability was, which in turn, if everybody lent on that and everybody borrowed on that, in theory, we shouldn't have these big giant credit bubbles. So, that was what we were trying to do, was to bring that level of accurate decisioning to every single buying and selling decision. And we got phenomenal response from the lenders and the banks